Hey, everybody, and welcome to our very first Casual Chats, an extension of the Exceptionally Irresistible show. This is the part where we want to highlight, celebrate, and just really empower other people who are living that exceptionally irresistible life in their personal life, in their professional life, whatever it may be. And we invite guests to come and to share with us these exceptionally irresistible stories or messages or whatever it may be. And we have the pleasure of having today Nelsa Webber, who is absolutely awesome. We met in Charlotte in one of our speaking engagements. Um, right away, sparks were flying. We right away connected, and without further ado, Nelsa Webber, hello and welcome to the show.
Thank you, Yermi. I'm so happy to be here. I did not remember this was going to be the inaugural, so no pressure, right? The very
No
first
pressure.
one. But I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
For sure, for sure. So just a little bit about Nelsa. I'm going to just read off her bio, and then we're going to expand a little bit more with Nelsa explaining us more. So Nelsa Webber is both a certified Reiki master and a life coach who assists in energy clearing and coaches others to heal spiritually, emotionally, and physically. She encourages her clients to live a life of passion and purpose without regrets. For nearly 5 years, she has hosted her own podcast and YouTube channel, both entitled Crazy Believe with Nelsa. Oh, that's a fun title, which she uses to promote healing and radical self love and to spotlight guests who have successfully taken leaps of faith. Nelsa leads retreats, is a motivational speaker, and is the mother of three compassionate and beautiful daughters. Nelsa also co-hosts the Relationship Cycle with George George and Nelsa, a podcast a podcast about how to navigate relationships. A lifelong learner, former educator, administrator, and servant leader, she loves to travel, spend time in nature, and is crazy believing in her dreams. I love that one. You can book Nelsa for Reiki, coaching, retreats, or speaking engagements at her email, which we're going to post towards the end and in the show notes down here, as well as her website, crazybelieve.com. So that was Nelsa. That was awesome. So, in your own words, like give us a little sort of snapshot into Nelsa's world.
Ooh, oh my gosh, there's so much going on. It might make you dizzy. I'm a former educator, and at my last year, before retiring, I lost my dad, to cancer. And so upon his transition, a lot of things started happening to me. And I asked myself one question that really kind of shook me to my foundation. And it was, if I died right now, would I have lived the life that I was purposed to live, to live?
Right.
And I really couldn't say yes. I felt like I had done a lot of good in education. I felt like, I'd had a family, a marriage. I'd done a lot of things, but I don't know if I had done the thing that I was purposed to do. And so a couple years go by, I am divorced, retired, starting over completely. And I'm in therapy, and I learn about Reiki as a client, and my life started changing. It really started changing, releasing old hurts, healing from things, became a trained Reiki practitioner, and started doing the work. And I was like, this is exactly what I was supposed to be doing, like with the other things that I had always been interested in. And so I was just like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm supposed to be assisting people on their journey to healing and living a full life, so that when you do die, you know that you have lived. That's always what I said I wanted on my memorial stone, is she lived. And I was like, I finally feel that kind of invigorated, get up each day looking forward to what's next. Just had a Reiki client right before our interview. And so walking in that is what I want to be able to help other people to do. And not just career wise, but like in every part of your life, if you don't have that sort of joy, if you don't have that expectation, if you aren't living with that type of faith, then
Mm.
I want to be able to assist you while you work on that part of your life that's under construction. So
Love that.
I'm pretty busy. I love being in nature. Love, being near water. Love being with my family, traveling. So that's just a little teeny tiny bit, but
Oh, wow, that's I think right there you really hit some really really important parts. And I'm actually curious, and I could only speak again for myself and people that I've met over the course of time. And I often have this discussion with them. I often ask, do you have to hit that sort of like rock bottom, or do you have to hit that, you know, specific event in your life? I guess in your case, it was, your father passing away, and I'm sorry for that, and my
thank you.
condolences. Um, but like, is that sometimes necessary, or are there other ways? I mean, what have you found?
I didn't think it was necessary until it happened.
Mm,
If that makes any sense. I
yeah.
think, just like science, there's a catalyst for things often. And I've always felt very blessed, always felt like I had lived a charmed life. And I sort of called down these events almost as if I had to earn the good things that had happened in my life, or to
Mhm.
move forward, I needed to suffer. So I kind of think in a way, I'm big into law of attraction, and, you speak life or death and choose life.
Right.
Um, but I had spoken some things out of my mouth where I felt like I needed to go through these experiences to be able to relate to people and be able to understand what people would be suffering through. And I think it did help me. While I
Mhm.
don't know if it's always necessary, I think it did help me in my development, and even just growing in grace and compassion for what other people were going through, and being able to understand why it's sometimes so difficult for people to heal from things, because it
Mhm.
took 4 years, really, truly. This year marks 4 years for my dad's anniversary.
Wow.
And not to mention, like, I retired from a career I had been doing long term. I got separated from my marriage within that same 6 month period from my
Wow.
dad's death. And so 4 years of continuous healing and work, and feeling like I'm dropping back to the ground zero place before moving
Mhm.
forward, 3 steps. It always feels like it's a circuit. And I think healing is a circuit. I think too
Right.
often we've been trained to think in a very linear fashion in school and everything, the way we've been trained. But life is really more of a cylinder or a circuit that's going up and down, back and forth. And
Mm,
sometimes we're up and sometimes we're back and sometimes we're to the side. But I think if
right.
I hadn't gone through that, I might
Right.
not be doing the work that I'm doing now, and that my purpose might not have been, really, I guess, crystallized, because sometimes I felt like I was doing the right things working in the school system, but the things that I really wanted to do went beyond the shape and scope of just educating a child. It was
Sure.
working with healing. And there's just so many people, young and old alike, and in between, that have experienced so much trauma or secondary trauma or just loss, disappointment. And there's people who are just really having a difficult time, especially after COVID,
Sure.
and all the things that we've seen in the last 10, 20 years. Um,
Mhm.
People just they couldn't shake the feeling of loss and just despair, I think, that we see sometimes. And so I just felt like that was something that I was called to assist in. Like, I don't say that I heal anybody, because it's really not for me.
No, sure.
I really believe that, God, source, your higher self, however you want to describe that power, is doing the work with you. But I'm just sort of an assistant in the work,
Mhm. Yeah.
like a surgical assistant, if you will.
Sure. Sure. Yeah, I mean, I very much relate to everything you say, and I often, I think like, especially now, also with COVID, a lot of coaches just suddenly popped out of nowhere.
Yeah,
Everybody's now a coach. Everybody's now a healer. I don't know, whatever.
right.
And so sometimes it brings us to really question what is a true coach, or what is a true, whatever expert is trying to help other
Mhm.
people. Now, some of them really, really are there to help,
Right.
Clearly, you're one of them. Like, that's not even a doubt or a question. But there are a lot of other ones that, hey, it's a pain point and now it's a hot market, so let's jump
Right.
in.
Right. And you can tell the difference, I think,
And
sometimes.
exactly. And I think you hit the nail on the head, and that's why I want to highlight that, is because I agree with you that those true coaches, those true people who are there to help are more partners than they are actual healers, or
Yes.
like they play this god figure when they're so not.
Yeah.
And it's really about the other person doing the work. But sometimes we just need that objective person, that person from the outside,
Hmm.
to sort of like look within. And I was just sharing this with my coach, and I said, I'm great at helping everybody else, start up their business and do their stuff and do their
Yeah.
thing and all that stuff. But I have a little bit of trouble in my own thing, in my own stuff. And I said, you know what? I really just think I'm too close to the picture. With my
Hmm.
clients and with my other people, I'm so far removed that
Right.
I see the blind spots. But when I'm the one physically in the driver's seat, I have blind spots, and I need somebody from the outside to help me look within. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's not to
yeah,
say that I didn't go through my own God complex.
sure,
Not in this part of the work necessarily as much as my previous life, because I wanted to help so much that I
sure.
took on more than was mine. And it broke me a few times before learning, like, I can't go into this space helping people with really dark places and
Sure.
deep, issues, and be that same person. I can't take on the energy of everyone in the world, even though, as much as my mom used to say, I want to save everybody, I
Yeah.
finally realized that's not my job. And people have to
Mhm.
want to be healed. Like, I'll tell people what I do, you know what I mean? But if they act like I'm not interested, I
Mhm.
don't force it, I don't push it. I keep hearing that voice of spirit say in me, the ones who need you are going to find you. Just
Yeah.
do the work
Yeah.
and don't try to own it. Don't try to push it. And I think that's where you can tell the difference, I think, from people who are really out for a quick check or people who are really doing the work that they've been purposed to do. Because
Mhm.
I don't need to sell you
Right.
what you need. I'll tell you what I do and how I can help you. And you want it or you don't, you're ready or you're not.
Right.
Um, the one that really was my assistant and really helped me do the work. That's what I needed. I was going to do the work. I'm like
Mhm.
you. I just needed somebody to help me see the blind spots,
Right.
help me learn some new techniques. But I had one who really was trying to tell me how I ought to,
Yeah.
move, what decision I should make. And I knew I was feeling so frustrated. I was like, that's not what I came here for. Like,
Mhm.
I'm truly a believer that the answer you need is already inside you. And sometimes you just need a person to know what questions to ask to help you get to that right answer, but it's already there. I'm not
Exactly.
doing anything magical or amazing other than I'm your cheerleader, I'm your assistant. I'm
Mhm.
just helping you to walk down that road without it being so lonely. But we all have to do our own inside work. Nobody else
Absolutely.
can do that for you.
Absolutely. And I love that. I love that. And I think that was very apparent from the minute you and I met, like right
Right.
away. And just like you said, I decided for my business that for me it's about making that change in the world, making that, you know, extra step. Like I too I had that time when I'm out saving the world, just because I think as children and as we grow and as we mature over time, and all of us at our own pace and stuff. But I think sometimes we're so like attached to who we are as individuals. And sometimes it takes a little bit of like refinement and and fixing and that growth in a sense, where I too, I'm just like this guy. I love to help everybody. I just want to be forefront. I want to be like, if there's a volunteer opportunity, I'm usually the first one signing up. My name
Right.
goes on the top. um but sometimes it's about exactly like you said, it's like taking that step back and humbling ourselves, really humbling
Mhm.
ourselves. And what I like to say is be called to service. So that means not being of service necessarily, but more being called to service.
Mm-hmm.
So the way we met, and I'm going to jump in, I want to hear your perspective, but
Okay.
what I decided to do earlier on this year, and hopefully throughout the remainder of this year, is to really just go and be in a location,
Mm-hmm.
hopefully share inspiration, and like you said, those who need to hear my message will attract, and those who are not interested will move away,
Right.
but the idea is to be at least called to service. So that means a person who recognizes that they may need my assistance in any level will call upon me to serve them in a sense. Um, so that's my perspective of how we met. But then I'd love to hear your perspective, and I'd love to hear, that attraction. Like, what was it? Like, what was it from Nelsa's perspective how we met?
You said the magic words to me. How to help people be happy at work is what
Mm,
I heard. And it was packed out in there. I was like, okay, it might be some good energy here. Something is in here that I need to hear. And that being exceptionally irresistible, like to me, it was like living in excellence. And I always
mm,
wanted to live in excellence. I didn't want to be mediocre. I always took, things to the nth degree. If I went to school, I was going all the way. If I was going
right.
to, coach or do whatever, I was going to go all the way. Even as my daughter's soccer mom, I was the mom cutting cartwheels on the side of the side of the field when my daughter's team scored.
Uh-huh.
So I always wanted to live at that level, and I wanted to be happy. And I promised myself on every job, if I got to the point where I was so unhappy at work that I was making everybody around me miserable, I was going to quit. And I promised myself that long time ago before I even got into my like educational career. And every time I got to that place where the job was making me miserable, or I was feeling like I'm working against the tide and I can't make change here anymore for the
Right.
better, I was like, I'm out.
Mm,
And when I heard that there was somebody who believed in that philosophy, I was like, oh, I
mhm.
was supposed to be here. I've got to talk to him. I was like, I need to interview you for the podcast. I need to, we got to
Yeah.
connect, do some stuff. I don't know what, but like, you're here for a reason. Like, I went to that expo just because I was like, I need to get out of my comfort zone. I'm
Right.
always doing everything in my hometown or whatever. And I was like, I need to make more connections outside of my usual. And
Mhm.
so, I went by myself, really didn't know what to expect, and ran into your beautiful wife, that just beautiful baby. And I was just like, oh my gosh. And his family is with him. I was like, yes, this is the life I'm trying to live right here,
Yeah.
where I can do what I need to do and not have to segregate my life all the time. So it felt like you were sort of a sign, like a
Mm,
confirmation from God, if you will, that I was on the right track, because I'm
mhm.
now meeting people who are kind of doing similar life's purpose work. It's purposeful work, first of all, helping people with things that you're doing. When you said you had worked in a prison, I was
Mhm.
like, oh my gosh, he's worked in a prison. I was like, well, I hadn't worked in a prison, but I've worked in some pretty tough schools.
Yeah.
And it was just like
Mhm.
that desire to want to still help people. Like you didn't lose that spark. It didn't harden you the way I've seen some individuals, you know, go through compassion fatigue. And even with
Yeah.
me, where I felt like it was time to get off this particular horse,
Mhm.
desire to help people in a different way still exists. I still find myself educating people around, this particular form of healing and how it helps you. So I haven't completely lost all the things that got me on the journey. But for
Sure.
you, I was just like, oh yeah, we're definitely going to cross paths. And then you followed up, and I was like,
Mhm.
okay, because everybody takes your card, you exchange stuff at these
Sure.
conferences, and you may run into each other again in another year at the same conference, but you haven't
Mhm.
really exchanged really
Connected.
good energy.
Mhm.
And I felt like that's exactly what happened. I was just like, oh no, these are people that are going to be a part of my life in some kind of way. I'm not sure to what
Yeah.
extent or how, but
Sure.
and then you said you just live right up the road from me, not too far. I was like, oh, absolutely going to happen.
Exactly. And I'm so grateful that it did. And it's exactly and a testament of what this is all about, and I really, and this is why it was so important to me that I have you on this show, and you are the inaugural show, and you
Oh,
are like, it is, because it's not so common that I get a chance to first meet somebody in person these days,
right,
and then
right.
sort of like go online or whatever, and hopefully, obviously, we have, more interactions, even face to
Hmm.
face and stuff. But it was important to me, and it's exactly for what you said. It's really that you will attract the right people. The moment you're living this kind of life that is just attractable, right? And
Right.
that you're gonna find those people who you share those, those core values, or or a mission, or like a vision that you have for the
Hmm.
world, or whatever it is. And that's why it is important for me to travel with my family, to highlight them, to bring them into everything. Just a very side note, we believe in work-life synergy, not necessarily work-life balance.
Hmm.
That's a staple of our vision in this world. And it shouldn't be that work has to be draining, or it shouldn't be that, you get burnt out of work. It shouldn't be
Right.
all these things. And that's why we created the exceptionally irresistible journey, what we call the BEI.
Hmm.
Um, it's exactly for that purpose. It's exactly like what you highlighted. And you are such a testament to the kind of people that we're attracting, just as even just like community members.
Right.
Like you said, I don't know where this relationship will go. And that's not the purpose of it. The purpose
No.
is that we're there to highlight each other and to inspire each other. You invited me onto your podcast. That was awesome. I was
Yeah.
already thinking, like, when I met you, I was like, in my head, I'm like, casual chats number one right there. Like, that
I was
was
like,
already like,
crazy
that
believe
was,
in Nelsa.
yeah.
Great
And
minds
then
think alike.
yeah, and then you were like, oh, but I need you, and I was like, but that's exactly the kind. And imagine you could have personal and professional relationships like this.
You're right.
That's what this show is hopefully going to highlight. We're going to try to bring on other people to have these kind of interactions, because our vision is that the world needs this kind of
Absolutely.
approach. So that's my interpretation of becoming exceptionally irresistible. But I'd love to hear your take when you hear exceptionally irresistible. You started touching upon it, but if you could just expand a little.
I think really it's being authentic, which I know sometimes those words are becoming a little bit cliche, but really showing up
Mhm.
full-fledged, technicolor, not filtered,
Mhm.
um, seeking to connect with people in a genuine fashion, not for what you could do for me or what, I think I can profit from knowing you or being in the wake of your fame or whatever the case may
Right.
be, but really seeking to like build understanding, like building synergy. I love that word that you would use, the
Mhm.
work life synergy, because I think that's what genuine connection is about. Like, how can I serve Yarmy? And you're thinking, how can I serve her?
Mhm.
That's what the world needs more of. Like, there's so much um, just abuse of people. My mom has
Yeah.
this saying where she's like, you can use me, just don't abuse me. Like, yeah,
Mm.
we need to be useful to each other in this
True.
lifetime. But to the point where I'm abusing you and I'm taking more than I'm offering, and we're not reciprocating, we're not equally yoked, not valuing each other just for being a human being.
Right.
You have to have some sort of worth for somebody to see you. Then that's not a relationship that I want to be a part of. I've really worked hard and struggled to get my self-esteem and my love of self to a place now where I feel like this is what I want to help other people learn how to do, that I don't want to go backwards and be in relationships where I can't flourish and you can't flourish with me.
So true.
It's a two-way street. And I think that's what exceptionally irresistible means, is my light is on so bright that if you can't be in my physical presence, you can enjoy me from the podcast or the YouTube
Mm.
channel or,
Yeah.
from a retreat. But if you're in my personal life, then you are looking to add to that light, not just bathe in mine, but we need to be lighting up the world together. And so those are the friendships that I'm seeking now. Those are the opportunities to work with people who want to get to that place if they're not already partway there. That's the love of my life that I'm looking for. You know, somebody that we light each other up so much that there's no way possible you can look at us and not see it, you know, dripping from us. So that's big. I know it's a big order. And I think sometimes I've asked, maybe I'm asking for too much, but no, I'm not. I think it's possible if you show up with what you're looking for. But if you're showing up with negative energy, you're showing up as a toxic individual, you're showing up as a taker, a user, an abuser who only thinks about self, you know, that's not what radical self-love is. Radical self-love is, I'm going to treat Nelsa the way I would treat people outside of Nelsa. Like, I'm going to give you my best. I'm going to give me my best. So, you know, I want to reciprocate with myself what I'm trying to do with the rest of the world. So that's, for me, I was so drawn to it. I was like, man, that is like, I wish I had thought of it. You know what I'm saying? I was like, yeah, that says exactly what I'm trying to do in the world.
Sure.
So it was perfect. I was just like blown away, really, truly. Yeah. And even that the processes that you've put in place to help people draw that kind of clientele and build that type of business, like that you had, you know, you and your partner had solidified that into a visual and a process. Like, I'm a big picture girl. You know, I always used to say that at my staff, but I always would staff myself with people who were detailed people. And so I've been praying, God, please send me a team. Please send me a team. Yeah. And it's just like all the people that have those gifts and talents that I need to be supplemented with have shown up. And it's wonderful because, like, you can't lead anybody with no followers. You know what I'm saying? Like, and if I'm not leading myself in the way people find, you know, irresistible, what sort of business am I going to have? Like, I'm going to be sitting over here at the house looking for a job again somewhere else. So I don't know. I just think it was perfect. I couldn't even have named it any better.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's so true. And I mean, we are actually about to launch a like behind the scenes of how Exceptionally Irresistible was actually born. My business partner, before he became my business partner, it's actually how he became my business partner, was first a client. Wow. And he came for a private, personalized retreat kind of situation. We live in a, you know, in a vacation place, you know, so we told him, hey, come out here to vacation. He stayed by us in our cabin and stuff with us, and we had a whole week together, and all that was videotaped. It was documented. And and that's how Exceptionally Irresistible was effectively born. And we just looked at each other, like on the drive back to the airport. We looked at each other and we were like, well, we have to make something out of this, you know. We have to. And it was more like I was videotaping it more so that he could take home, and he could kind of remember the experience, and he could, you know, go back and whatever. But this whole experience, that's how all of a sudden it's like, wow, you're doing exceptional stuff. I was doing irresistible stuff. And like, that was my brand before that. And then it married. So that's actually how it was born. And we're about to launch the how, you know, Exceptionally Irresistible was born. But to what you're saying, that's what we're trying to create here. And my business partner and I, we're trying to create this sort of club of leaders, really. It's really just a bunch of leaders. We don't believe in followers. I don't think, you know, if you ever join our club, you're not a follower of the you are a practicing Exceptionally Irresistible individual that we just want to highlight, celebrate, you know, be there to support one another, you know. And like you said, we need that team because we all have our unique strengths. We all have our unique, you know, individualism, if you will. And we can't do everything by ourselves. We need the like-minded people. Wherever you're strong, you know, I perhaps am weak. And so we need to feed off each other's energies. And that's exactly what you mentioned. And I love that you said that. And I think that does even align with Reiki, if I'm understanding a little bit.
It does. Exactly.
So it's incredible. And I think, you know, I like how you said, that being like for sure, use me, no problem, just don't abuse me kind of thing,
Right.
like and I think this is one of our first discussions we had. The unfortunate truth is that humanity has been taken out of the professional side of things. We think of
Mhm.
like personal relationships, and even there we're kind of like business dealing it sometimes, and
Yes.
that's why our personal relationships get affected. But we're more comfortable saying, oh, a personal relationship is, I don't know, sometimes romantic or sometimes what, like there's so many misconceptions, and we're not realizing that sometimes it's really just as simple as, let me treat you as human. Let me treat you the way I would like to get treated. Let me treat you,
Mhm.
just like an individual. I don't have to
Yes.
see your background. I don't have to see your religion. I don't have to see your skin color. I don't have to see I don't have to see nothing. And I just see a human in front of me. And I love that that was a big part of your definition of what exceptionally irresistible is, because that's effectively exactly what we're trying to do here. And really bring in that community and bring in those people
Mhm.
together. So that's just beautiful. And just a quick, I like to ask this question, and as we're coming towards the end,
Mhm.
um, if there was one inspirational person that you were able to have to go out to dinner with, who would that be, and why? Why would that person be your choice?
Oh, there's so many.
Well, choose any.
Okay, I'm going to
You guys
choose
have a group?
Prince. Today I'm going to choose Prince. And the
Okay.
reason for it, like Prince had been a part of my life, forever.
Hmm.
I was a teenager in the 80s and I was just so like caught up. But Prince did Prince
Mm.
his way. The Frank Sinatra, I did it my way. He
Yeah.
truly did it his way with, people talking junk about, changing his name to the symbol.
Hmm.
Um, the people that he had signed up with, you know, rejecting his deals and, some of his music and all that. And he decides, don't worry about it. I'll do it myself.
Hmm.
And did it successfully
Hmm.
himself for all those years. I remember I've seen Prince the most out of anybody. And every time I would watch his show, he showed up. He didn't give the same performance every single time. I had three very distinct, different shows every time, even if he played the
Wow.
same songs. But he always gave of himself, and you could see it. Like he was just so like into us in this moment. He was dropped in. He was
Mhm.
connected. He was authentic. And I'm like, whatever he was going through in those last days, I'm like, he put everything on the line. And
Mhm.
I respect that so much because I'm like, he left no stone unturned in his life. And so
Mhm.
for me, that's the life that I want for myself, that I'm really purposely curating for myself right now. And I want to help other people curate. Like when I leave here, you will know that she has
Mhm.
lived and she did not leave any stone unturned. She expanded until she couldn't expand anymore. The balloon popped because she had expanded so much she didn't have anywhere else to go but
Sure.
out, you know. And so I always just got that feeling from him. I'll tell you, I was devastated when I found out his earthly life had ended. And
Mhm.
I was just like on the side of the road crying. That's how
Yeah.
deeply I cared for this human being that I had never
Mhm.
met in person other than to see him in a show. But I feel that way though when I was a teacher. I felt that way about my students, still do.
Mhm.
As a principal, I felt that way about my teachers and the rest of my staff as well as my families. And now I feel that way as a coach.
Mhm.
I want people to live such a wonderful life that like you expand until you have no choice but to move to your next level.
Sure.
Um, and I guess, when you get impacted by somebody like that, even though you may never have met them or you may
Mhm.
have only met them once, it's just like, somebody who left a mark on your life
Yeah.
that will never be erased, no matter what. And so I feel that way about Prince, honestly. He's one of
Mm.
many that I've got that feeling about. But
Sure.
since you asked me for only one.
Yeah, I love it, and I mean, like I want to just have one last follow up question on that. It's that that right now you're there having that, elusive dinner with him or whatever it is.
Uh-huh.
Imagine we could bring him back from the grave or whatever.
Right, right.
But, just imagine that for a second. But
Mhm.
what's what would be like, what would your discussion be like? Like, what are you going to ask him? What are you going to chat with him about?
I would ask him what his favorite song was, because I know what mine is. I love Adore. It's my favorite song out of my
Adore?
whole Prince
Okay.
playbook. That and Pink
Okay.
Cashmere.
Okay.
I would ask him, did he feel fulfilled? Like, was he ready? Was he ready when it ended? Did he
Mm.
feel like he had done all he
Oh,
needed to do? And then I'd probably ask him, does he still feel the love from the other side that people
mm,
still have? Like, when I look at the number of people that have been influenced, I like, even my brand colors are lavender. I
mm.
love purple,
Sure.
Prince, Purple Rain, all that jazz.
Yeah.
And so how many people he can see his influence with, but could he feel the love, not just
Mm,
people wanting the music or wanting to be in the wake of his, his fame or whatever, but did he
mm,
really feel loved and appreciated and cherished? Because I feel like no matter how high you are, no matter how low you are on the economic scale, no matter who you are, every person deserves to be loved and
mm.
appreciated and valued. I think
Sure.
that's a part of the irresistible movement is,
Right.
can you can you make people, can you let them know? Because I think maybe they feel
Mhm.
it or not, but are you doing your part to let somebody know what you feel about them and how valuable they are to you, whether it's as a staff member, a family member, a friend, loved
Mhm.
one, whatever. So those are probably my main questions. And then, I love follow up. So it depends on what he says.
No, of course. Well, hey, like, I would just love to be a fly on the wall, like listening into that conversation. That would just be, and I have followed Prince for a while. I had a big Michael Jackson / Prince
Yeah.
time, which I
Yeah.
know that they were rivals and stuff, but
Yeah.
like I found, the amazingness of both of them, and it was just like, to me, and I love those questions, and I think you hit the nail on the head about exceptionally irresistible. It's really about, when I was going out to search for the right wife for me,
Mhm.
it took me a whole journey, it took me a whole thing, and I said, I only need one cheerleader in my life. I honestly don't need the entire world to love me, appreciate me, or
Mhm.
whatever. That's not my personality, not my character. I'm not doing it for that.
Right.
But I do need one person on my side. You do need that one person saying how incredible you are, how amazing you are, how you do need that. And I said, who better than just my wife? And I want to
Oh.
be the same thing for her. But that to me was just a core value important to me to have that side of me fulfilled.
Mhm.
And as I said, I just need that one person on my side. And I said, and in the prisons, I was that for those people. And
Mhm.
simply more like, if not me, then who? These people
Right.
don't get that there. And just to bring that little bit of humanity back. And then that's how part of the idea of exceptionally irresistible came about, where let's just create a movement of where even if only one of us can celebrate another one of us,
Mhm.
that's good enough. But really to create a movement of everybody celebrating one another, everybody connecting with one another, everybody, it's a place where we don't believe in competition. We don't believe in, I want to be so happy for you, like genuinely happy for your
Right.
practices, for your coaching, for whatever it is that you're doing, because, well, guess what? Who else is doing that out there? So if
That
it's not
part.
if it's not we, then who? Um,
Mhm.
and that's what this show is about, and that's what this movement is about, is to invite those people to come join. So if anybody's reading this scrolling thing down here, it is inviting people to come be a guest on our show as well. This is the very open platform. Everybody's invited. Here's where we talk about your individual, your uniqueness. You heard today from Nelsa. She is beyond incredible. If you haven't
Thank
thought of
you.
reaching out to her, you better. In a second, we're going to wrap this up. But I do want to invite people to become guests here. This is where, where we believe that you all have a fingerprint, and it's up to you to leave that mark on the world. Prince did his, Michael Jackson did his, Nelsa's doing hers right now. I'm doing mine. We're all
Yours,
doing
yes.
ours. We're all doing ours. And this is a place to empower you to do so. Nobody has the same, fingerprint as you do. So you have a mark to leave on the world. And that's what we want to celebrate. We want to celebrate you. So please, without further ado, reach out to our email. It's exceptionallyirresistible@gmail.com. We made it very simple, very easy. Please reach out to us. We are inviting you. So with that being said, Nelsa, how does somebody, reach out to somebody as exceptionally irresistible as you, and how do they connect with you?
Well, thank you, Jeremy, for the opportunity. It's crazy believe with a V, number 4 @gmail.com. And I think you're going to flash it up there.
Yep.
And then the website is www.crazybelieve.com. You can find me on social media. Facebook is Nelsa Webber or Crazy Believe with Nelsa. I have a couple pages. And then Crazy Believe with Nelsa is my Instagram and my YouTube channel. So, check me out there. You can learn a little bit about Reiki and what I do. And I'm just out here trying to find exceptionally irresistible people like you are, Jeremy, as well. Because I think the more we highlight people who are doing the work and people who are making those leaps into, a better life, the better the world's going to be. And that's not to say, I do want to say this before I leave. It's not to say that because you're going through a rough time or because you're in a place where, things aren't shiny and bright. I think we've talked about this, the two of us, Jeremy. Like, I have bad days. Like, I don't show up as my best self, but I become aware of it now and I own it. And I let people know. I communicate. Today is not my best day. We did the podcast. I had some tech issues and I own, I'm not a techie. I was an actor trained. I'm a director, but I'm not a techie, but I always had great tech team and I'm looking for great tech people for the future. But when you don't show up as your best, that just means you're on the other side, balance. You can't have light without dark. You can't have up without down. So my goal is to help you get to that place. And I'm just looking forward to what happens next, especially with this movement. I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm so tickled to just have met you all and just to even be a part of the movement now. So you definitely have another cheerleader out here.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And yeah, that's exactly it. And I couldn't have ended this show in a better way, than you said it. You really said it best. And we are actually working actively on a LinkedIn page, like a club. I know a Facebook club is being built right now, but it is really to invite those exceptionally irresistible people into like a hub or in like a club in a sense where they could interact with one another. So we are currently, I know that the LinkedIn one is live. The Facebook one is coming live soon. We will send you definitely an invite to that because we have to have you in there. But anybody watching this absolutely must connect with Nelsa. She is beyond awesome.
You.
Just to get to know her, even if it's but yeah, so that does conclude our first Casual Chats show. Hopefully for many more. And Nelsa, thank you so much for making this so incredible, so exceptionally irresistible, so full of light and energy and just beautiful. So thank you again for everything, Nelsa.
Happy to be here.
Thanks. Alrighty, guys. That'll be it. See you all next time. Bye-bye, guys.
Bye.